Join me in this scenario for a minute. You've just graduated law school. You passed 2 rigorous bar exams and are now licensed to practice in New York and California. You invested 6 figures into your education, years of your life, lots of effort, discipline, and sacrifice. You graduated at the top of your class and landed a job at one of the most prestigious law firms in the country. You're 26 years old, you feel capable, you feel accomplished, and you feel excited because you are set up to have an amazing career. But there's just one problem. You hate being a lawyer. Oh no, what are you going to do? This scenario I've painted is where I found myself 8 years ago. Today, on this episode of the Artist Rendezvous, we're doing something a little different. Usually, I sit down with incredible creatives around Austin, Texas, and I ask them about the inspiration behind what they've made and the story of how they brought it into the world. But today, I invited my dear friend and wonderful talent, Bradley Jewell, to interview me about my life and about how I began living a creative one. I was faced with this strange but very common reality. I had invested so much into a career, found early success, and yet staying on that path felt like I was quietly falling asleep inside of my own life. I knew I couldn't live like that. So I made a leap into the unknown. I made a big career change into spiritual healing and emotional health, and I changed almost everything about my life and lifestyle. Following a creative path, by which I mean a life that prioritizes inspiration, connection, and creativity in every part of it, has led me to extraordinary experiences, significant challenges, and ultimately the birth of my new project, the Artist Rendezvous. I wanted to sit down and share my story with you so you could better understand me. I wasn't always someone who cared about creativity. If you had asked me 10 years ago, I would have told you I had no idea how to access my creativity. I would have said, I'm not a creative person. I wouldn't have known how or why to prioritize it in my life. And yet, here we are. Deciding to follow the spark of inspiration has changed my life trajectory for the better. Because of that, I feel strongly in sharing and supporting the creatives around me who have followed the spark of inspiration. Tune in, get to know me, and stick around. Follow the Artist Rendezvous on Instagram and TikTok. Send an episode to anyone who enjoy it. Leave me a review. My name is Samantha Pfotenhauer. This is the Artist Rendezvous. Okay. Let's do this. Sam Pfotenhauer, I'm so excited to be here with you.
I'm so excited to be here with you and in this different role than I usually am in.
I know, you're in the hot seat. I love this.
Me too.
I get to have my way with you and ask you all the things.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, so I want to start by just talking about this idea around pivots in life. And I remember the first time I talked to you, I remember thinking to myself, wait, how old is this woman? And she's already asking herself these questions about life. Like, these are questions that I just asked myself in my 5th decade of life. And here's this woman who's been reinventing herself since her mid-20s. So I would love to start by maybe diving in a little bit deeper to what was going on in your 20s that got you to this place or started to get you to this place.
Yeah. So I graduated law school when I was 24 years old.
Where'd you go to law school?
Tulane University Law School in New Orleans.
Okay. And where'd you go to undergraduate?
University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
Okay. So, all right, we're in the head. We're in the brain.
Yes, we're in the brain. We're very academic focused.
Mm-hmm.
And both of these places, I grew up in Arizona. I went to college. I didn't know anyone there and loved it and had a great experience, and then moved to New Orleans also not knowing anyone.
And did you think you always wanted to be an attorney?
No, I didn't, but I loved environmental studies.
Okay.
I was an environmental studies marine science major, marine science minor, and I loved stability and knowing where I was going next.
Mm-hmm.
And I was academically minded.
Yep.
My dad one time said to me, I was writing a white paper policy on the Affordable Care Act, and he was like, oh, you would probably like law school. Immediately regretted it. Immediately started sending me links about like all the reasons why not to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
But it
Starting with like his
seed.
bank account, like what it was going to do to the family fund.
And I was 19 and I was like, you're right. I should go to law school. I should be an environmental lawyer. Took the LSAT at 19 and just decided I was going to law school and didn't really consider anything else, any other options. As an environmental studies person, I wasn't doing the environmental science technical work,
right?
Like engineering so the options, I didn't really know what my options were. It was basically like policy, law. It just felt like it made sense and it was transferable, which is a lie. We shouldn't be telling young people to go to law school if they don't know what to do. But I decided I want to go, and no one could really convince me out of it. I knew a lot of lawyers or people who went to law school and who didn't like it, and they were telling me that. And I think I had some ego there. I was
this is my path.
This is what I'm
gonna
doing.
Do. And it's comforting, I think, to make a decision at that point in your life, right? When you really don't have any, you have no idea what's going to happen in the future. So to just make a choice, I think is really impactful. Okay, so you make this choice.
Mm-hmm. I go to law school. I'm young. I start when I'm 21 years old and thrive in law school. Mm-hmm. Had like perfect grades, was kind of leadership and everything I wanted to be in. And because of that, had every opportunity I wanted. And that gave me, by beginning of my second year, I had locked down a clerkship, which is where you go work for a federal judge. It's a great opportunity. And I worked for an incredible judge in New Orleans named Judge Feldman, who was a federal judge there, district judge. And then I went to, already years before, had my job offer for a law firm in New York City.
Your path is like
locked.
You're golden.
Yes.
You're crushing it. You're doing all the things.
And
so
it was like,
great. I should just be
flying
high.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I felt really good about myself. I was going to go work at one of the best law firms in New York City and was really excited for the opportunity. I knew it wasn't really the law I was interested in. I wasn't really that interested in going to New York, but I wasn't going to pass up a law firm like this.
Yep.
And I'm super glad I made that decision. So graduated, started working for the judge, had an amazing experience. My colleagues were phenomenal, some of the best I've ever had. Met an incredible mentor who became a friend, who is a little bit older than me, who really started to expand my perspective of what being an adult woman could look like, Annie. And I think that I didn't realize that was happening, but things are the wheels are starting to turn. And at this time, it was the first time in my life where I wasn't in school. When you're in school, you always have more you could be doing. And so I had 9 to 5. Like my hours were really great and I had a solid salary. And so I had time for hobbies and I decided I wanted to find some. So I started doing everything. I started cooking. I would take like a swing dancing lesson. I would go to art stuff.
All in New York City.
All in New Orleans at this point.
Oh, New Orleans. Okay.
Yeah. And then I moved up to New York City to start practicing law. And everything changed there because it wasn't fun.
Was it still 9 to 5?
It was not 9 to 5.
Nothing in New York City is 9 to 5.
It was like 10 to 10.
Yeah.
Sometimes
later.
10 to 12 or 10 to 2 a.m.
Yeah.
It was really long hours.
It
was a grind.
Yeah.
It was I didn't connect with the type of work. Nothing wrong with that. I was doing civil litigation. I was representing big pharma, big banks. It just wasn't that interesting for me. And I was around incredibly talented lawyers, so I was learning a lot in that regard, but I wasn't feeling any sort of purpose. I wasn't feeling
inspired.
Authentic. I wasn't feeling inspired.
Which is one of your big pillars for this podcast,
yes.
right? Yeah. So no inspiration at a time when you arguably should be really inspirational, right? Because you don't have that much to lose per se in the whole scheme of life as a single woman living in New York City as an attorney, right?
Yes.
Like go big, go home, but you were not feeling it.
No. And I was looking around and thinking what's wrong with me?
Yes.
I just graduated law school. I had taken and passed the New York and California bar. So I was locked in was like, should be my career. I'm only 26. I plan to be doing this for almost 50 more years. And I already really don't like this. Like, oh no.
Yes.
Oh no.
I think so many people have these moments in their life where they question their choices, but they've put so much commitment into it, right? Time, money, effort, and all the things. And you make it to this place, and then you look around and you're like, wait a minute, like maybe this isn't what I really want, right? Right. And so now what?
And so I always knew very few people set out to stay at these sorts of law firms. Our incoming class is 150 people, and after 10 or 15, one of those people will make partner.
Right.
And one or two will stay on as counsel. It's a sort of place you go for experience and to develop, and then you go somewhere else.
Yep.
But I was already starting to realize I don't know if I want to go to anywhere of these places.
Anywhere the place, yeah.
And that was a really scary realization. And I didn't know if I should trust that, if I was just getting, if it was just the type of work, if it was the environment, if it was being in New York. I always wanted to be an environmental lawyer. So I started to call around and ask. I called my old professors.
Did you have a mentor at the time?
I didn't have a mentor or really a mentor at the law firm who I could speak openly with, but my professors at Tulane, one in particular, Mark Davis, was a mentor for me while I was there and continued to be.
Amazing.
And so I called him and said, I don't know if I want to be doing this. And he said, great. I remember him saying essentially like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let me help you. And so he started to put me in touch with other types of lawyers, other types of environmental lawyers who are doing amazing things so I could start to understand what was out there. And then I reached out to other people I knew, family members, people who worked in anything I thought sounded cool, and just started to talk to people in supply chain work, in production, in food and bev.
Which, let me just bring up a
options?
point here. This is fascinating because I do think that so much of creativity stems from curiosity. And in this moment in your life where maybe you could have just chosen to largely ignore how you were feeling and stay on the wheel, or maybe just, you chose to get curious and see if there's a way in which you can still have it all. You can still honor the work that you've done, right? And the money that you've spent, the investment that you've made in yourself in this process, and simultaneously do something that feels a little bit more meaningful, right? And so you, instead of shutting down and saying like, well, I don't have a choice here, you got curious, which is fascinating. And I think like one of the pillars of being a creative human. So continue.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that's interesting because I remember most of my colleagues were Ivy League educated. The majority went to really, really good law schools and many phenomenal undergraduates. And I remember observing them and talking to them and them saying like, oh, I really want to have this dream, work at this nonprofit, but it's just so competitive. And me thinking, you're double Harvard. What do you mean? You're the competitive. You're the reason why it's competitive.
If it wasn't for you, I'd have that job.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's like you are it. You're why people say that. And if you think that, then anybody could think that. And I started realizing like I don't want to fall into that trap. Like I'm not double Harvard, but why can't I be competitive too? Why can't I make a leap? I learned how to be a lawyer in relatively short amount of time. Like why couldn't I go into a different career? And that I'm really glad I had that mentality. But as I was looking around, I just couldn't see it. And I knew I probably wasn't going to be able to figure it out from where I was sitting. I would need to go find different work. And I didn't know if I could go find another job and just get closer, or if I needed to. I was really interested in agriculture at that time and food systems, still am. And I was like, maybe I just need to quit and then go put myself in those environments and travel and go spend some time on farms and like figure out where the need is. Because one of that same professor was talking to me about how for a lot of interesting positions, and especially as a lawyer, you're problem solving for things that you don't yet know what the problems are. Like, you're going to speaking to people and you're figuring out what the need is, and then you're figuring out a way that you can help. And that exact role doesn't exist yet. You might have to create it. You might have to get the funding for it. You might have to create the position, create the organization.
Which you were like, I'm all in.
Of it.
I'm all in.
I was open to anything.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic.
So open.
Yes,
open. That's,
open.
I think, another thing I just want to highlight. Like, curious and open. Two things that I think make you able to tap into your tuition to make choices. But continue. Oh yeah, the pandemic.
And then the pandemic hit.
The pandy. Yeah.
And so that changed a lot. I was saving money at that point a lot because I knew I was going to leave a job and take a massive pay cut and maybe not work for a little bit in the interim or need to take something like a internship.
Yeah.
But when the pandemic hit, I was like, I can't just go to a farm. Like, I can't just go be like, I'm just going to go around. I'm going to go to this permaculture farm.
Ding dong, I'm here.
And hang out. Like, that's all of that is off the table.
Right. Okay, so then
I'm a few years into practicing and I start to really hate it. And I start to feel overwhelmed. I'm all the signs. I'm spontaneously crying. I'm feeling super anxious. I'm having panic attacks. I'm constant needing to convince myself every day to be grateful, like really hard, like many times a day. I'm meditating many times a day. I'm trying to do everything because I am grateful. I have a job and it's a good one and I am grateful, but one big sign I knew it was time to move on is I felt like I wasn't showing up in a way I was proud of. Like, I don't know if any of my colleagues would have said that, but I just could feel I wasn't caring and it was making it harder. Like, you can only force it so much. And I knew that was really bad for my confidence.
Yeah.
It wasn't good for me. I'm not a fan of quiet quitting. I think that's a horrible idea because it undermines your trust in yourself to work hard. And that term didn't exist yet, but I could feel that coming on. And so I decided to just leave.
I think most people have felt that feeling in their life at some point, right? Where you have a deep knowing that this is not it for you. And it is, your body starts to tell you that, right? It's not good for your body and your mind. Okay, so you start to have this shift.
I start to have this shift, and a coach I was working with, like every week at that point, says, I was starting to think about any random job I can come up with, like entry level. I should work at a chocolate factory. I should work at a juice, like anything. And my parents were like, "You have a law degree. Like, what do you mean? You don't need what? No."
Yeah.
And I could just feel that desperation. And so I was talking to my coach about it, who gave me the advice of, look, we only get a few big leaps in our life. What if you were really wise about it? What if you were intentional? And what if you took a little bit of time off working? And I immediately shut it down. And I said, absolutely not. There's no way. I can't do that. Can't afford it. And she said, okay, no problem. We'll walk through other solutions. And we just kept talking about something else. And in the back of my head, I knew
that's what you needed to do.
I needed to do it. I could afford it. I had the money saved. I didn't want to use it for that.
Right.
But I could without any serious consequences. And I knew I needed to. And so I sat
Which, let me also pause you here, because this is, I think, also just really good advice for anybody listening to this podcast, is that you had the funds to invest in yourself, to take this time to explore whatever it is you wanted to do. And I think oftentimes people, when we're earning money and spending money and saving money, we're maybe saving it for long-term retirement, but we're not saving it necessarily for short-term, like, let's just call it crisis, right? Whether that's I need a break, I need a pivot, I got laid off, whatever that is, to give yourself the opportunity to be able to stop, travel, do a deep dive, invest in a coach, whatever that is, to make that leap, I think is really important. And it's amazing that you had the opportunity to do that.
At that time, I was, and still at this time, traveling all over to see my favorite band, Widespread Panic, which I'm wearing my Widespread Panic t-shirt. And I went to Mexico right before the pandemic for a Widespread Panic trip, which is a pricey trip. And I realized I'm willing to spend all this money to go to this band, this concert, which lots of people are, spend money on vacation. But I think it's insane to spend that money on a coach or to spend that money to explore creative interests or to spend that money on rent for a month and not work. And I just started to realize, like, what are my priorities here? And music is still a number one priority, but it's okay to spend money on these things, especially if it's what's going to give me the space to make an important decision that will change the trajectory of my life.
Yep. Yep. And so let me guess, things got harder before they got better. Oh, the universe is a funny way of handing us that big old pile, doesn't it?
Yes and no. Like it actually, so I decided to leave. And then, as often happens, amazing things came in right away to support me.
Doors kept opening, like, yes, like you just kept getting these yeses, right? Things that maybe would have otherwise been challenging weren't.
I didn't expect, I had no idea what I was going to do for work, and I didn't know what it was going to look like. And I think a week after I quit, I talked to an alumni from the law firm I worked at. And I was just talking to him on the phone about environmental issues. He works in environmental law. And by the end of the call, he was like, "Can I hire you?" And all of a sudden, I had a great part-time contractor work that I still do. And that has continued to come in and out and support me. I didn't know that existed. I did not know you could do that sort of work. I've actually have still never encountered another lawyer who's doing it. And it's perfect, and they're a wonderful company, and it's like spot on exactly the sort of legal issues I'm interested in.
And that happened almost
within a week.
Wow, amazing.
And then I started, one of the big fears I had when I was leaving was that I wouldn't be able to get hired again. And it would be like no one would want me, basically. And also within a week, a federal judge reached out and was like, "Do you want a clerkship?" Which is really unusual. I didn't take it. It wasn't aligned with the timing. But it gave me this assurance of there will be more options. Like, this wasn't your only opportunity. And you got this opportunity because you're in a place where you're an attractive person to receive that, and you will continue to be an attractive to these opportunities.
Right, because you're putting that energy out because it's what you're looking for.
It's what I'm looking for. And in just like really practical ways, I was a good lawyer. Like, I had the right skills, I had the right credentials in the background. And so if I needed to go get employed by that again, I could.
Yep.
For the same reason I was employed the first time.
So do you feel like once you got out from underneath this narrative that wasn't working for you, it allowed you to, like, when you say, I mean, I know you're attractive, but I mean, you were able to attract the kind of opportunity that you didn't even know you were looking for, that you didn't even know that existed, but it wasn't until you got out from underneath that you were able to get to that place.
Because I don't think I was open. And once I was out, I realized I had to be open.
Yep.
And I started challenging myself. What if a great thing does exist? What if there are things I don't know are possible that want to find me?
Yep.
And what if I just have that mentality that there's a whole world out there and I only know a little fraction of it, and those I might be the right match for them too. Like, they may be looking for somebody like me. Just because I can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Just because I can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That's right. That's absolutely so true. And it's not until we get out from underneath and get out in the real world that we can actually, see and receive that kind of opportunity.
Yes.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah. So I didn't go work in, actually I kind of did. So my wonderful alma mater, Tulane's, was like, let me help you try to make this transition better for you. And we can give you space where you can put together some panels and advise some students and build your network in environmental law if you want to come into this. And they're so wonderful to do that. And so I was advising students through their Center for Environmental Law, and I was working on some agriculture stuff. And it was great. I could just sense I didn't want to be pursuing law. I wasn't excited about it. They were giving me opportunities to network. It wasn't like employment.
Right.
And I didn't want to really run with those opportunities. What I was super excited about was this thing called human design. That's like astrology. I'd been into it for a few years, but
Total opposite from practicing law.
By the way, so opposite.
Okay.
And I didn't mention all of this was happening alongside a massive spiritual awakening, doing a ton of self-worth work, investing a lot into somatic therapy, energy work, all sorts of personal development. So that was what was supporting my ability to be curious and to be open and
Was
to
this work that you were doing on yourself in the background? Where did
Yes.
that stemmed from?
That started from I started getting panic attacks when I was practicing law or starting working for clerkship based off of experiences that I had as a teenager that I hadn't looked at. Often
Trauma, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, traumatic experiences. And I started to feel afraid and feel afraid of the world, and it was manifesting as panic attacks.
So do you think that by like not addressing that trauma, it was furthering your like staying on the wheel, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So as soon as you started to deal with the demon, the pain, the shame, the trauma inside of you that you'd been living with, you released that, right? And then started to give yourself some space to receive new stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful articulation. And this is not unique to me. This is true with everyone. I now work with people, helping them digest their trauma and their life experiences that made them feel unsafe.
Yeah.
And your ability to dream up new ways of being, opportunities, visions, radically changes when you take stock of what you're holding on to and organize it within yourself and dissolve it.
Yep.
It changes you, and it changes your ability to be open and curious because you feel a lot safer to do that. And because you whenever you have trauma stored in the body, it's a silent controller. It is silently running in the back of your mind, directing it, because we're always trying to avoid those experiences or avoid feeling them. And we don't even realize it's happening. Once you pull it out and put it into light and deal with it, you no longer have this like iceberg you're constantly trying to avoid.
Right.
You have the open seas.
Yeah.
And you can go wherever you want.
Yep.
And you don't realize you're doing it usually until you start working on it and you put the pieces together.
Yeah. And you have to stay curious, right? To get to that place.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to do the work because it's not fun, right? I'm guessing it was not like a skip to my Lou kind of situation, right?
No,
It was painful and ugly and awful and hard and challenging, right?
It has made everything else so much easier because I think going into your most challenging experiences and bringing them into light and feeling them and sharing them with other people is the hardest thing. One of the hardest things you can do.
Yeah.
It made leaving my job feel not that hard.
Yeah.
Me going into the unknown because I already did this really hard thing and they were happening at the same time. So it's like I'm doing this way harder thing and it's okay. And every time I do something hard, all these people are supporting me and my relationships are deepening and I'm more confident in myself. So it made me trust doing other hard things.
So do you think that if somebody were listening to this right now and they're sitting in their office and they're miserable and they just feel like they do not have the courage to face like their fear of pivoting their life. Like let's say they've always dreamed of being a painter, but they are an economist and they can't imagine staying an economist for another 30 years of their life and they really just want to paint. But they're paralyzed. I think a lot of people are paralyzed by fear of what that would actually look like. It just is, outrageous and risky and all the things. Do you think that it's a good practice in that if you're in that place to stop and take a inventory on your life and your past, and maybe there's some things that you're holding on to? Yeah.
I think that would be a great thing. I think if you're in that place, I don't talk about my other work that much on here, but I think you should book a session with me at wildriver.live. I'm serious.
Okay.
And work and talk. Let's talk about it and go into that because it's not about being a painter probably. It's probably something else. It's a fear of rejection. It's a fear of being unloved. It's a fear of
abandonment. I mean, there's so many
intensity
things, right?
of the emotion of it, the vulnerability.
Yeah, this is so fast. I do think people are talking about this more today than ever before.
Yes.
Thank you, Brene Brown. and all the other people that are actually like stepping up to these microphones and sharing deep, dark. I'm going to say, like, we have our personal lives, our private lives, and then we have our secret lives. Like, everybody has these things that they've experienced that it's the shadow, it's the shame, it's like, if I just largely ignore it and push it down as deep as I possibly can, I will be fine. And that shit will rear its head and take you out, later in life, or keep you from doing the thing, right, that we were put on this earth to do. Like, right? We have this one chance to live this big, bold, beautiful, creative life, right?
Yes.
We don't give ourselves the opportunity to do that if we don't deal with the shadow, the darkness. And we then, to make it even more challenging, like if that wasn't hard enough, then we live in this world where everyone is just putting the best version of themselves forward, right? Like with the filter and look at how shiny and new and perfect and great my life is. But the reality is that's not the thing that's actually going to get your life to be truly, authentically shiny and new and brilliant and all the things, right? It's the ugly cry.
Yes.
It's the ugly cry.
The best thing any adult can do is learn how to hold their own pain and to actually hold it. And that, in my experience, means it breaks you. But it breaks you open.
That's
and
right.
wider.
That's right.
And then you can hold it.
Right.
So it is painful, but it is so freeing. And to your point, it comes in everything. Like, these experiences that I had were impacting definitely my health, deeply impacting my relationships, friendships, definitely romantic relationships, impacting my sex life, impacting my self-concept, my beauty, my confidence.
Alcohol consumption, I'm guessing, like self-medicating in any way to just not have to deal with all the things.
Financial spending. Yeah, like, and all of it. And these experiences that I had are like, lots of people have them.
Yeah.
And if not like this,
something. Everyone gets a nice big bag of shit. Just some bags are bigger than others, but nobody leaves this world without it, right? Everybody has it, right? Okay, so, and this is, you're in your 20s, right?
I'm 27 at this time.
Yeah, this is amazing that you had the opportunity to do this work in this space at that age, right? I mean, this is like, most people don't do this until they're like 45 and wondering like, what's next, right? So
I feel so lucky it found me at that time.
Yeah. Okay, so now where are we? We are...
Quit my job.
Yep.
So now I'm doing this, picked up some environmental law, doing some work with students, kind of figuring out, like, do I want to be an environmental lawyer? Then comes the mystical modalities. And I start getting really into this thing called human design. Think of it like astrology. You know what it is, but most of people here won't know about it. You can learn about it at moonrisecommunity.com. That's one of my other creations. And you put in your birth info and it spits out this chart and it tells you all this information. And I'm obsessed with this thing. I've now become an expert on it. I'm a teacher. I've taught tons of people. I've done hundreds of readings. Like, I got really into this for a few years. It just pulled me in.
I like, what was it about it? Did you feel like it was your truth?
It felt super authentic. When I first found it, I found it one of my first weeks of working at the law firm. And it told me essentially, like, you're supposed to be super lit up by what you do. And if you don't, you're not wrong or broken. It's just not the right job for you, which sounds obvious, but that felt radical because I and everyone around me, for the most part, was convincing themselves that work just had to suck and be hard. And that's just what it is.
Like, that's
being an adult. And all of a sudden I had this thing saying, hey, no. And in fact, it can be magical. And you know that because here are all these other qualities that you have. And I felt like it was describing me in a way that I always recognized about myself, but hadn't received that type of description at that level of precision. And it just kept going. Like, I kept getting more and more insights.
Curious again.
It made me curious. And it was helpful. It was giving me practical things. Tools,
right? Like, it's helping you connect with your deepest intuition the day you were born, right? Like the day that you were brought to this planet, right? And all the things that means. Yeah, this is fascinating. Okay, so you're now super fired up about human design. You start helping other people, reading charts, training people, opening up, I'm guessing, new portals to your own creativity, your own paths, more people. So you're creating this whole other thing while you're doing some law stuff. And you're genuinely good to go, happy, like things are thriving.
Things are, I mean, there's instability with that because you're wondering like, okay, can I ever make enough money with this? Which you can, but it takes time to build. You're sharing yourself online. So I was doing this through, now I have a whole spiritual healing practice, and that's what I do professionally. But I started it over 5 years ago. So if you go
and you didn't know, I'm sure they're like, it's the total cringe factor, right?
God.
Like the first one you watch, you're just like, oh, what was I wearing? What was I thinking?
The amount of makeup on my face, like, what am I doing? And that's something I've really learned. I didn't realize that I was creating, and I was in a creative process. I didn't view myself as a creative, but now that I'm doing the Artist Rendezvous, I see that's exactly what was happening. And one of the the wonderful but very challenging things about being a creative, and anytime you start something new, is you usually are not good at it. For a while.
Disaster.
And you have to be public. You have to be trying and stumbling in public.
Okay, let's talk about that. Because that's terrifying for most people, right? Like nobody wants to not be liked and loved and adored and admired, right? We want to just be our best versions of ourselves. But the reality is it's just not how it works, right? You have to put yourself out there and take the step. So how does somebody do that?
You ask yourself why you're doing it. And you think of what it would be like if you got good at it. So you're trying to connect with the why, and like why this is important and why this is worth it. Once you have that, you invite people in and you tell your friends and family what you're doing. And you tell them that you're scared and nervous. That gives them the opportunity to support you, because otherwise people don't know what to do. They're like, you're trying something new. I don't know what to say.
Here we go again. That's what my friends and family would be like, oh boy, what's it now? Right? Here we go.
And like what, like they have eyes. They know this isn't like a great product. And so they're trying to figure out how to support you, or maybe they don't care, but some of them will be. So when you tell them, I'm doing this, I'm scared, ask me about it, or whatever you need. It helps. Then that avoids some of the awkwardness. And then you just do it. And you don't have to do it 100%. So it can be you share an Instagram story rather than a post because it disappears. Like you can do it in a smaller account. You can do it anonymously. Like take whatever way will make you feel safe to take that baby step.
But do something publicly.
Usually, for most of these creative projects. It depends on what you're doing. Like if you're a singer, maybe you just start singing privately and then you sing for a few friends. You don't need to put on internet yet. But for me, the only way I could be successful in this was to share it publicly. So I had to start sharing publicly.
This is fascinating, because I think the other thing that deserves mentioning here is when I think a lot of people have a lot of great ideas, right? Ideas are coming and going and moving, and some people are catching on, and some people just take them and run with it, right? And fail epically, and they do it again and over, and they have like the best attitude, like all the things, right? But I think what's really interesting here is that if you just think about ideas, I mean, I have spent years thinking about ideas and never actually doing something about it, right? It is so much easier if you have an idea and you think about it and you just did something about it, and you're going to know right away if you want to continue to do it or not. Like it's either going to turn into something or it's over, and you're not going to be in your head thinking about it all the time, right? So this idea of like less thinking, more doing, even if it's the tiniest thing, but it's a doing behavior, not a thinking behavior. It gets the body in motion
Yes.
and gets you out of your head. So I think this is really, really, really important to mention.
I'm so glad I didn't even think about it like that, but that is a huge theme of this show, is to celebrate the people who did something with their idea and to encourage all the people listening to do that.
Yeah.
And
like, make an ass out of yourself.
Yeah, just
like,
do
we're
it.
here to tell you that, like, it now is the time. If you have an idea, like, go for it.
Go for
What's
it.
the worst thing that can happen?
And
Truly.
Yeah. And even in that worst thing will sound scary.
Yeah.
And it sounds bigger than the benefit of that first, taking that first step.
Yeah.
But living with the knowledge that you don't act and put yourself out there over the years wears the soul and the spirit down so much. And you get saddled with regret.
Yeah.
And you lose confidence because then it feels like such a big deal.
Yeah.
And so you just got to do it in whatever way you can, imperfectly, again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
And then eventually it doesn't feel that hard. It doesn't feel that scary. And what the sorts of projects that you can start to dream up get a lot bigger and cooler.
Which I think, most people on their deathbed at the end of their journey are like looking back on their life and thinking like, I mattered. I did something that made a difference, right? I created incredible human beings. I have an art in the a beautiful museum. I have whatever it is, like creativity, especially if it's some type of object that is, or a song, right? What a beautiful gift to humanity to create anything and something that is left for people to experience and read and listen to or see or experience in whatever way when you're gone, when you're no longer here, right? And what if you sat there and were just like, oh, I thought of all these things, but I never actually did anything?
My grandma, Jean Taylor Pfotenhauer, her husband, my grandfather, was a Lutheran pastor, and they did a ton of homeless outreach. He ran a 24,000 person homeless program in Santa Cruz, California, and they did a ton of stuff in the church. And every weekend he would counsel at a juvenile detention center. So they're very in service. And she said, "This is all great. Let's keep doing it. And I want to be giving to our personal community more." And so on Tuesday nights, she started making soup. And she did this for like 30 years, where she'd make a big pot of soup and had an open door and people would come bring bread. And I remember going there and my cousin, who's a muralist, his tagging friends would be swinging by to get soup, but he wouldn't be there. It would be anyone who you would know. And I think about this because they didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And she had 7 kids and she had a lot of responsibility, but made time to make soup and then created a space for people to gather. And that some days people got to say, I don't have to go home and make dinner, and I can go over there and I can be held and I could listen to people have interesting conversations and I can meet somebody new. What an incredible thing to create. And it's not something that you can ever look up on Spotify or will be, well known in that way, but makes a meaningful difference. Everybody has the ability to create and to make an impact in people that they love or strangers.
Yeah. So let's talk some more about the creative way, because that is what this podcast is all about, right? So that's a good segment into talk to me more about how you're living your life creatively.
Yes. So during this big transition, I started to realize that I wasn't willing to spend large amounts of my time doing things that made me feel like I was deadening. I always wanted to be moving towards feeling more alive.
Okay.
And
you knew what that felt like.
I knew what it felt like.
I think I would venture to say most people know, when something is right and feels good, it's your body is telling you, right?
There's this teacher, Annie Lala, and she says aliveness is the quiver between terror and ecstasy. Or I might be paraphrasing, but it's basically that. And I think when you're alive, it doesn't always feel good. It can feel terrifying, but you're feeling. So you're going towards feeling and away from dull and numb. I knew what dull and numb looked like. So I was looking for this. And that created challenges in my life because, like I said, there's instability. One, just going online and talking about mysticism and like spirit guides and spirituality. I've never been a religious person. All of a sudden, I'm talking about God. Is like there's a ton of massive identity shifts in there. My whole lifestyle changed. I went from being a party girl to now I like look at alcohol and get sick. Like I don't even, I'm gluten free. I'm like, so all these things, there's this rapid transformation in that. And in the process of that, I started to really gain reverence for people who devote their life to beauty and devote their life to service and to doing what makes them feel alive, even if it's not practical, even if it's challenging. It's always emotionally challenging because you will have some level of instability because of that. Even if your finances are set, the nature of that work is emotionally challenging.
And also, I'm guessing that along the way, you probably lost some people.
Oh my gosh, I was engaged. That relationship fell apart. I called off my wedding. My friendships changed. I got rid of almost everything I owned after calling off the wedding, in part because I just couldn't take it with me cross country. So there was this massive stripping. This massive stripping of basically, my closest friends and my family stayed the same. God bless, because they have always supported me and encouraged me. But everything else changed. And all the things that I looked to confirm who I was, like being a highly accomplished student. Now I measure success by how much I talk about like Instagram posts.
Yeah. So different.
It's so different. So I had to unhinge, be like, okay, I'm not going to look at that.
So was it hard to like shed your stuff and your friends and all of that?
I felt at times, I specifically remember when I had a 4-bedroom house and I had to take what I could fit in a Subaru and everything else had to go in like 3 days. And I remember lying
there. I feel like that's a country song in the making right there. I fit everything in my Subaru. Hit the road.
And then I did like a 10,000-mile road trip. I felt like I was a tennis ball at the ocean.
Yeah.
Like I felt totally untethered and like life was just the waves knocking me wherever they wanted. And I would go through those feelings and then I would come back and remember I wanted this, I chose this, I'm safe. I have actually ultimate autonomy. I'm not being rocked around. The stripping of letting go of a life that you built that wasn't authentic to create a new one is hard at times.
There's a mourning process, I would imagine, of like even if it ultimately isn't the plan you were supposed to be on, you had a plan.
Yes.
You had a vision in your mind of what you thought your life was going to be.
Yes.
And you started to work towards that. And at some point it imploded and you took a huge pivot and you changed immensely. And you have to grieve the loss of that plan that you had in place, right?
Yes.
So there is freedom in that, right? But there's also a lot of loss, and there's that shadow again that's kind of coming up, right?
Yes,
it's that shedding of old narratives, of old relationships, of old identities. I mean, we change, we evolve so much, right? Based off of all the things that we experience. It's truly is fascinating.
It can be letting go of things that you loved and that you still love but no longer fit you.
Yeah.
And in the process you break hearts.
Yeah.
You have to let things and people go, and it is painful for other people, it's painful for you.
Yeah.
That is difficult, and I think it's innately part of a creative process. Like not like everyone needs to, their life upends, but the creative process is a creation and destruction cycle. So even if you stay in the same marriage and it's great and your life and your health and all of that stays the same, if you're creating, you're always offering parts of yourself and your identity up, and then they will be renewed and washed clean or destroyed and come back to you different.
Mm-hmm. I get that. Okay, so all right, so we've covered sort of this creative component. What are the other components of your podcast?
Oh, yeah. Okay,
so
I wanted to talk about this because I don't know if I've ever really outlined this for people. The Artist Rendezvous, this project I'm doing, is trying to hit 3 main pillars, and it's how you live an inspired, intentional life. You
live
an
inspired
and
intentional
life. If you want to live a life that feels fulfilling, this is my framework of how to do that.
Okay.
And I created this because it's what's helping me, but I also think it's a good framework. I think it's applicable. It's prioritizing and celebrating inspiration, creativity, and community or connection.
Okay.
So inspiration is putting yourself in the flow of inspiration, subjecting yourself to ideas, to stories, to art that expands you, concepts, ways of being.
Do you think you have to know what that is, or you think you can just?
I think you usually can't know what it is.
You just put yourself. You think you need to be curious and aware, right?
Because you don't know what's going to catch you next. I never knew astrology. Like I would have not thought that would be the thing that I fell in love with for years. Sometimes, like I know if I go into nature enough, I'll probably be inspired. And I love nature documentaries. And so if I need some inspiration, I also love personal development. Like I can probably go in that lane. But I also never would have thought creativity would be the thing that's inspiring me so much. So part of it is just putting yourself in new environments and seeing what catches you. But it also then is inspiring others. So that can be sharing your stories. It's celebrating yourself, of putting your work out there. Not even necessarily be the intention of inspiring, but being seen. This creativity piece is if you want to live an intentional life and if you want to live a fulfilled life, you got to be creating. And you don't have to call it creativity if you're nervous with that word. But
you could be creating. I mean, there's so many things, right? You can be creative in so many ways. So talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, you can be creative in creating the life that you want for your kids, creating experiences for them, creating amazing parties, creating an incredible vibe at your house. So when you come home or people come in your home, they feel something, creating a business, creating music, creating a painting, creating furniture. My dad's been doing a lot of woodworking, and it's so cool to have his creations in my home. I eat dinner every day at the table he created for me. So creating something, it helps us move that energy. It helps us appreciate. Once you start creating, you start to notice all the creation around you. And it blows your mind. I feel like I'm going through like a psychedelic awakening. The first time I had this experience one of the first times I worked with psychedelics, I realized that the earth was alive and these things that were flat were actually alive. And I always knew it, but then I felt it. It's the same with creativity. It's like I walk and I look in my neighbors' yards and I look at these restaurants and it's not just a building. They're like pulsing with the creative spirit because somebody took a whole year to carve something or to paint something or to create this business. And there's a story and there's artistry and there's intention in all of it. And so when you create, you start to appreciate other people's creativity and value it, which is essential because the only way people create is if they're supporting. So
that's the community piece, right?
We have to be giving back. Yes. And then the connection piece and the community piece is we have to be giving to our community. We have to be showing up for them in volunteer work and service
and support and purchasing, right? Buying other people's creative things
and telling them thank you for creating the store. I love it here. It means something to me. And then also by letting community in. So letting them see your life, your work, how you feel, inviting them in, giving them an opportunity to know you.
I love this. So when you're looking for guests on the podcast, tell me about that process.
When I look for guests, so far, I mostly go to my favorite places, like Take Heart, which was the second episode, or Widespread Panic. And I see, is there anyone I can talk to? And the owner, and who created this? Or who's a piece of it? Widespread Panic's a huge creation. I would love to have one of the band members on here one day. But I had the photographer come and talk to me. And I figure out who owns it. And I try to introduce myself. And I express why I think what they're doing is special. And I'm looking for places where I feel that whoever created it was inspired. You can tell when somebody is inspired when they're creating. You can feel it in the level of detail and artistry, and you can feel it physically and emotionally. I can, at least.
How do you get inspired?
How do people?
Yeah, well, how do you?
I get inspired. So, number one, the condition has to be right, meaning I have to be healthy. So
Physically healthy.
Physically healthy, emotionally, energetically, and physically healthy.
Okay.
And so I naturally actually get inspired really easily. If I'm not inspired, the number one reason why is because I don't feel good. And I've been dealing with a lot of chronic health issues over the last year and a half. So I'm often am like, okay, I might need to rest more. I might need to stretch or change my diet. And then after that, I expose myself to whatever sounds exciting or interesting. And I feel into what I get that ping for. So that means going to concerts, going to festivals. People send me stuff of like, hey, this is cool. And if I just have that feeling, I go. A huge way I get inspired is connecting with people. So connecting through genuine conversation and listening to people and being curious about them and their lives and hearing what they've done inspires me because it expands what I think is possible for myself. And that feels inspiring because it feels inspiring to feel like I can experience life on a deeper level.
I love this. Okay, so it seems like you have a lot to offer this town.
Oh my gosh, I hope so.
Which, let's talk about Austin for a minute.
I'd love to.
This place is amazing.
It's perfect.
I
love it here.
Sometimes I forget how amazing it is until I go to another city and I'm like, wait, where's all their, like, fill in the blank? Like, there's just so much happening here. I never knew how important it was to live in a city where there's things are happening. People are moving here, businesses are launching, people are trying new things. There's new stuff popping up. There's new cities within the city, within the neighborhood popping up all the time. I feel like if you are remotely curious about anything, like, there is a group for you here, or you can start one here. Like, the number of meetups and places and things to do is just incredible. So I want to talk a little bit more about Austin and you, and tell me, what do you have to offer Austin?
Oh, wow. I have to offer Austin my enthusiasm. I am such a super fan. When I love things, I love it so much. I create a podcast to share how much I love it. And so
this is amazing.
Because I love it. And I'm like this always. I've been like this. I'm such a deep fan. So one, I think I have that enthusiasm and support right now. And I get it. I get what's special about it here and I appreciate it. But I think what I'd like to offer Austin is I would like to offer Austin a platform to amplify the incredible artists here, just to make it easier for people to recognize everything that's happening. Because Austin there's this, I'm getting this image of sometimes when they'll like zoom out on Earth and then like the solar system and the galaxy, there's so many galaxies in Austin. Like, there's so many solar systems and you don't realize there. And like you said, you go in, it's a whole community. And for those communities who want to be found, some of them don't want to be found, and I respect that. But for those who are like, no, we want more like-minded people to find us, I would love to be a connector. I want to help inform people of what is going on and make sure that, or do whatever I can to help the people here who are creating and who are offering things to Austin know that what they're doing is valuable. And just having a way. And that's what I'm hoping to offer with the Artist Rendezvous. It's just one of many. There's many other projects that are also connectors and amplifiers. But I want people to know that what they're doing really matters. Because Austin is only this special because you've had a lot of people who got inspired and then they acted on that inspiration. And then they went and invested so much of their time and their money and their life into building it. And then we just get to enjoy it all the time. And it didn't just happen. And I always want to remind people of that. Like, this isn't just a random thing. It's kind of like kids who are amazing. It's like they didn't just turn out like that. Like, they had parents who were devoting decades
and it's not
into
going
them.
away. Like, I mean, it may be changing and evolving, but it's here to stay. It really does feel like it is the fabric of this city.
I think so too.
Okay, and then so what does the city offer for you?
Austin offers me immense inspiration, connection, community. I feel I was called here. As it's probably evident, I'm a very spiritual person. And I deeply believe that I'm meant to be in Austin right now because this is such a supportive place for me. Like, these are my people. And one, it's incredible to have so many people who like the same things as I do. Like everything that I love, Austin's like the best place for.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good for spirituality and like tantra and like mysticism is one of the best cities for that. It's so good for niche grocery stores, Radius, Butcher, Love, local pastures. Like, it's so good for that. It's this very outsidesy city.
Yeah.
Our mutual friend Andy.
Yes.
From Cakes, amazing salon. Andy and Andy, phenomenal, great for hair. Andy one time told me Austin's not an outdoorsy city, but it's an outsidesy city. People love to be outside.
Yeah.
They love to have fun. It's best music city. I think it's the best place to be for music in the country, and I stand by that, which is one of my number one interests. So I really feel like as if the universe went into my heart and was like, what would Sam like? And then created Austin.
You think Austin was created for you?
No,
you
I don't think it was
the
created
fan.
for me, but I think it could have, like, that's how much I like it.
Amazing.
So I just feel so grateful that I get to be here and that I get to be here at this time. And I hope to be here for a very long time.
Yeah. Oh, I'm super excited. I'm so happy that you took the time to explain your story and give the audience a little bit deeper understanding into how you got here, why you're doing it, what you hope to get out of it. And I'm super excited to see all the cool Austinites to get to come onto the podcast for sure.
Thank you so much for interviewing me.
Yeah, this is so fun.
I just want to say, Bradley, she inspired this idea. We had a conversation about this a few months ago, and I have been thinking about it since. But the other thing I wanted to say is one of, I think, the biggest fluxes somebody can have is to be a highly interested person when they're extremely interesting. Like, you could fill books and podcasts with all the incredible experiences that you've had. And that's why I was so drawn to you and so inspired by you. Like, this woman has done all these dream things. And yet you, in conversation, are so focused on learning and being open and being curious from other people.
Let's just face it. We both have a girl crush on each other. If you just break it on down, I'm like, wait, who is this woman and how is she such a badass? And I think you said the same thing about me. So
Absolutely. I tell everyone, you should be my friend Bradley and we TikTok about you.
Oh my God, I love it. Yeah, we were clearly meant to sit in this room together.
Yeah,
so,
we were.
So good. I'm so excited for all the things to come. It's going to be great.
Thank you. And for anyone, follow along on the Artist Rendezvous Instagram. Go to TikTok. I share frequently and candidly there, the Artist Rendezvous. No, it's fun. Or definitely subscribe on YouTube, Spotify. Send this to anyone who would benefit from it. Check out the other episodes. And thank you so much for being a part of this project.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me on here. I appreciate it. Bye.